What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we're continuing with our 32-team 7-round mock draft series. And we're looking at the team as of March 24th. Is holding on to the 16th pick in the first round, and that is the Baltimore Ravens, a team that perennially goes best player available, finds studs somehow, and drafts incredibly well. So we are going to try our best to replicate that. I have one pick that might be a little head-scratching, if you will. And I have one pick that I didn't even make myself. I just couldn't. When I was doing research, trying to find team needs, it kept popping up. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm going to trust Ravens fan on it. And that's going to be the tight end spot. We'll talk about it a little later, obviously with Dennis Pitta retiring, so on and so forth. But before we talk about the mock draft, let's quickly look at free agency and see how that kind of shaped the way we built our draft board here. Looking at what they lost, they pretty much just had one of the worst offenses, so they decided to drop their wide receivers. Jerry Maclin is gone. He's currently a free agent. Mike Wallace is gone, the best wide receiver. Now remember my Philadelphia Eagles on an excellent one-year, $2.5 million deal. I love it. And they lost center Ryan Jensen, who was very, very solid. Got paid a lot of money to go play down in Florida, down in the sun for the Tampa Bay Bucks. So when they brought in, they were able to re-sign James Hurst, who's a solid starting offensive tackle. They brought in John Brown as I think it's kind of like a trial deal because he just can't stay healthy to save his life. Definitely an interesting deep threat. Could possibly replace Mike Wallace. Don't know if that will be the case. That's why I still think there's lots of uncertainty when you look at the wide receiver core here for the Ravens. And they brought in Michael Crabtree, who's a good veteran, safe prospect, and definitely when you look at their wide receiver core, he's probably the one guy that you probably could pencil in and say, yeah, he's probably going to be the go-to target for now. But wait, C4, can we talk about your mock draft? Are we sure about it? Moving to the first round at pick 16, I was selecting wide receiver Calvin Ridley from Alabama. Originally, it's pretty obvious Baltimore still is going to want to improve the wide receiver core. And I think a lot of times you might be looking at this saying there's no way the best wide receiver in this year's draft class, supposedly is going to be there at 16. You saw the massive contracts that were going around for these wide receivers here. We're not going to talk about the Ryan Grant situation. I thought that they did Ryan Grant dirty, let's be honest. But the kind of money they're throwing around there, that just kind of shows how all these teams, how all these front office, how these scouts really rate the wide receivers. But I think ultimately, Calvin Ridley's a little bit older, a little bit undersized, but in terms of production, in terms of upside, still probably wide receiver one consensus around the league. And ultimately, when you look at him on the Baltimore Ravens, probably will challenge for that wide receiver 2 spot. You're going to probably have to say John Brown will be the slot guy. You have Michael Crabtree. John Brown, probably the slot, but also has the speed to be outside. You have Crabtree, who's going to be a starting wide receiver. And outside of that, you have Chris Moore, you have Rashad Perriman. Perriman doesn't really look like he's going to amount to much. The rare bad pick for the Baltimore Ravens, a first-rounder in 2015. So I think Calvin Ridley can definitely take over and start as a rookie for the Baltimore Ravens. Moving to the second round, pick 52. Baltimore is going to be selecting one of the best offensive linemen in this year's draft class, center Billy Price from Ohio State. Had an injury at the bench press at the combine. I think he had to get surgery on his chest, which is probably going to hurt his draft stock a little bit. But ultimately, the fact that you're getting, in my opinion, the best center in this year's draft class, if you look at his tape, you look at James Daniels from Iowa, those are like the two big names considered at center. Billy Price, for me, has been the best center in college football for a couple years now. Also has lots of experience playing offensive guard, so there's versatility there. And anytime you get a guy that's really, really good at one position, but also has the versatility in case of injury and anything like that, because you don't usually dress a whole lot of offensive linemen on your starting game day roster, it's bonus points. So I think still absolute baller pick here for the Baltimore Ravens. And with the loss of Ryan Jensen, he could start day one as soon as he's healthy. Going to the third round, pick 83. Now, this is the first kind of head-scratching pick, but knowing my feelings that Perriman's pretty much a bust, and John Brown there's no, you've seen the good of John Brown when he was with Arizona, but then the last couple of years he's done nothing. So still seeing that they have Crabtree as kind of a short-term option as a veteran. He's almost 30. And Calvin Ridley, wide receiver still in need. I was selecting wide receiver Equinemius St. Brown from Notre Dame. I think he could come in, challenge for wide receiver 3, might be wide receiver 4. Either way, he is probably the biggest project wide receiver that has talent that you don't outright need to redshirt him. But I think in terms of a ceiling, might have the highest ceiling out of any wide receiver in this year's draft class. Monster, he's like 6'5", 210. If he can gain a little bit of weight, that'd probably be ideal. He's a speedster, good hands, but I still think he needs to refine his skills a little bit. He's one of those guys that would have been probably benefited a little bit more to stay in college, but Notre Dame has no quarterbacks, so you might as well go now while the going's hot. Well, he's maybe looked at this class as a weak draft class for wide receivers. But I think when you're the Ravens, get as many weapons as you can. Try to help out Joe Flacco. Try to salvage that quarterback on that big old contract as best you can. And I don't know if Michael Crabtree, Calvin Ridley, John Brown is going to be enough. So get a nice guy there, a nice developmental guy that can chip in as a rookie, and Equan St. Brown. Going to the 4th round, pick 118. Again, versatility is key. We're going offensive lineman Mason Cole from Michigan. Played pretty much everywhere on the offensive line. He could be a center, so if you view Billy Price as a guard, Mason Cole can come in and play a lot of center. He played a lot of tackle, so I'm looking at more so that right tackle spot. They moved on from Austin Howard, so I don't know really how they rate Alex Lewis. I think he was like average, good average pro football focus. It's not the be-all, end-all. And then, you have James Hurst, who can play guard, who can play tackle. So ultimately, I just think versatility is key. And a guy like Mason Cole, yeah, he probably played, he might be graded and viewed as a center, but, pretty much last year for Michigan played tackle. So you get that versatility again in the 4th round. I think a guy that definitely has a ceiling to start. He's very, very solid. Won a bunch of accolades while he's at Michigan. I think that's a good value pick here in the 4th round. For a team that really, you look at the offensive line, Ronnie Stanley is good. Yonda's old, but still really good. Everyone else is, you get a battle. No one else, I don't think anyone else on that offensive line has the starting gig lined up. They're going to have to show up in camp and earn it once again. And I think Mason Cole, throw his name in the mix, makes healthy competition. Going to the 5th round pick, 154, I was liking tight end Dalton Schultz from Stanford. Again, this is something when I look at the roster, you have Nick Boyles, like a fullback tight end hybrid. You have Max Williams, a 2nd round pick in 2015. I have no idea what's going on with Max Williams, to be honest with you. I don't watch enough Raven football, let's be honest. If you're not a Ravens fan, you probably don't really want to watch Raven games when they're not playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they're not an exciting team to watch. I don't know what's going on with Max Williams, but for me, just depth chart looking, I would still not have tight end as a big need. But everywhere I look for Raven fans, they're saying, make sure you have them getting a tight end. Make sure you have them getting a tight end. So I listened, and I think Dalton Schultz in the 5th round is, there's going to be some nice value here. Stanford is just, I think you might be able to call Stanford tight end U with the last couple guys that have been coming out. Austin Hooper, Fleener, Zach Ertz. A lot of talent coming out of there. So I think Dalton Schultz, good receiver, not a terrible blocker. There's your tight end, Ravens fans. Again, not a pick that I was going to make, but I've just seen countless people say they got to go tight end. So there you go. You're getting a very good one here in Dalton Schultz. Very good one in relation to the 5th round. Going to the 6th round, they have 2 6th-round picks to end the draft. First up at 190, I was selecting running back Akram Wadley from Iowa. I think he's going to be running back 3 when you look at what they have with the uncertainty of Kenneth Dixon, who I think Kenneth Dixon is a very nice running back. You have Buck Allen, who's been used kind of as a receiving back a little bit, even though he's bigger. You have Alex Colton. Like, all those running backs, though, ultimately are like the same type of style. They don't have the open space, cut back, receiving back after they moved on from Danny Woodhead. So I think Akram Wadley can come in, fill that Danny Woodhead role, what he would bring to that offense. He has solid hands, can bring some special teams ability. He's a shiftier back, and he's a compliment to whoever gets that starting gig in Baltimore, though I think it's probably going to be Alex Collins to lose next season. And then finishing up here with their 2nd 6th-round pick at 215, I was selecting quarterback Tanner Lee from Nebraska. Get someone else there that's not Ryan Mallett for the Baltimore Ravens. Personally, Tanner Lee has had some ugly games. He's had some good games. That's pretty much what you're going to be getting in the 6th and 7th round. You get a guy that, Nebraska's not a prolific offense by any means. Didn't have the greatest of talent around him, but he did have, I guess you could say his one negative was he was turnover prone, threw a bunch of picks. But a lot of people think that Tanner Lee is a draftable quarterback, and we're looking for someone here behind Joe Flacco. I'm not thinking you're getting the future guy here, but I just think when you look at the backups, I think I'd rather get a guy with Tanner Lee that does have some flashes of good positive quarterback play versus someone like Ryan Mallett, who's had some off the field issues and just trash, and then you get Josh Woodrum. I mean, who's that? So I think Tanner Lee, that's the quarterback pick here for the Baltimore Ravens. And that's it. So that is my Baltimore Ravens mock draft. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with any of the picks that we did here today. If you have your own Baltimore Ravens mock draft, or you're a Ravens fan, or you're just following along, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below with that, and we can do a nice little comparison. Ultimately, when I'm reviewing this draft, I think it's pretty nice. I really do think Calvin Ridley, Billy Price are 2 perfect picks for the Baltimore Ravens at 1 and 2. St. Brown and Mason Cole kind of, going wide receiver center, wide receiver, classify him as a center. Might raise a couple eyebrows, but I think that would be best for the Baltimore Ravens, especially getting versatility in the offensive line, and you get guys that can, you get the kind of 2 spectrums. You get Calvin Ridley, who's probably maybe the most pro-ready wide receiver, and then you get Equanimeous St. Brown, who might be the most upside. Not as ready right now, most upside. It's a yin and a yang that we did here, but ultimately all these guys I think can contribute right away. So let me know in the comment section below. As always, if it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, guys, it's C4 saying I'm not going to draw this out to get the 10-minute double ads. Peace out.